No rehearsal, no talking about it. Just fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah,
Do it live.
I mean, it's best to get our responses on whatever. So, welcome to the first edition of the Orange Joe podcast show. I'm here with my two buddies. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Jeff, but you guys can call me Hefe.
My name is James, but you can call me KK.
Actually, probably just should have introduced you so you don't have overlap, but I'm an idiot, so we're good. Anyway, we're going to use this as a weekly update, basically, to just cover news related to gaming or whatever else we find interesting. And we're going to go ahead and start off with our games before talking about the games that hyped us during E3 before we go ahead and pivot into some gaming, which, whatever, people can choose whatever they want, really, I suppose, if they want to give us suggestions at some point. That being said, I started off with KK's suggestions. He wanted to talk about, well, let's first go with Beyond Good and Evil 2. I'll go ahead and get a trailer running in the background.
Beyond Good and Evil 2. It's so good to see it back, because I played the original back at its release years ago. It was an awesome game. Have either of you played it?
No, this game has actually eluded me. I haven't even heard about it yet, so I'm kind of listening in.
I did. I played a bit of the first one. I never, beat it. I found it, and not to knock it, because it was still fun, but I essentially just found it Zelda with a woman. What if Zelda was a girl?
Yeah, it was one of those games that focused more on the platforming and the puzzle solving than it did the combat. But man, it was such a good game. It was very, very story driven. And that ending was a cliffhanger. Oh man, so many people wanted that sequel to be after the cliffhanger. But I'm okay with this one being set as a prequel.
Yeah.
As long as they keep the same kind of feel and concept going, I'm good. Good.
Well, they don't really want to anger fans, so I'm sure they're going to keep a general feel going. Although I got to say, in this pre-rendered cutscene, the jiggle physics on this woman hanging over this pig are ridiculous.
So I guess if there's anybody who is like me, just kind of tell me, what is the game actually about? What is Beyond Good and Evil 2?
We don't know too much about Beyond Good and Evil 2, but I can tell you how the first one was. The first one was a kind of a mystery thing. You played Jade as she was trying to figure out what was going on behind the scenes with her camera and everything. And you find this whole alien conspiracy shit. You're snapping photos, and you have this big final boss fight and cliffhanger. It was all about solving the mystery. So I assume that's probably what the same route they're going to go with was Beyond Good and Evil 2. Is some kind of mystery to be solved or some kind of goal to be reached.
And do you know when the original Good and Evil was out?
Oh, I'm not sure the original release date.
Would you say that the mystery was Beyond Good and Evil?
You're a terrible person.
You should feel bad. It was originally released in 2003.
Interesting.
It was re-released for the Xbox 360 and the PS3.
The real question is, and I'll ask you guys again. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't know. I am pretty hyped, especially since I didn't really get to play the other one. It does look interesting, because I do like the setting, especially what they show in the trailer. It's like this pseudo-futuristic, ancient, steampunk, essentially.
Kinda. It's not really steampunk, I'd call it. It's more of a... What is it? Cyberpunk. It's more of a technological dystopia, cyberpunk theme.
Seems like a healthy balance of the two, honestly. Because it doesn't feel like, at least thematically, when I'm looking at this trailer here, which nobody's getting to hear volume, because fuck you. But anyway, no, I'm kidding. I mean, I could see it has the futuristic cyberpunk, but at the same time, the way it has like the way the cities look, they look dingy instead of like dark and dystopian. They look like bright and dusty.
Yeah, that was what the whole point was in Beyond Good and Evil. Was everything was kind of grungy, and she was just trying to figure out what was going on with the government, and that was what led you through the story.
Gotcha. And I could give you a quick synopsis too, based off of. Okay, this actually doesn't give a synopsis at all. So.
Yeah, we don't know like fuck all about Beyond Good and Evil. We don't have a release date, which actually upsets me. But given the trailer here means that it's actually coming. Because for a long time, we just thought it was vaporware. It was never coming.
Yeah, it was in development hell forever.
Because we kept getting hints and hints. Teaser trailer here, teaser trailer there, and nothing for like 5 years.
Talking from a marketing standpoint, that's actually one of the better ways to do it. If you kind of look at the way that Rockstar introduced fucking Red Dead 2, as compared to the way that Ubisoft brought around talking about like Far Cry 5, like they just kind of plopped a trailer down. But for Red Dead 2, we had a picture, the original, Red Rockstar picture back in the day that we used to have for Red Dead. So I don't know. It definitely does bring up its own mention of hype if you can market the game right, because it helps with the initial release.
I'm just hoping that there's more to come from it in the future. Because right now we don't know much, but I'm just stoked that it's back.
I'm also a fan of Seven Samurai Hefe, so see what I did there. All right. Well, I guess that covers that. On my radar list, like let's say out of all the things mentioned at E3, definitely put it in top 10. But I'm like a huge fanboy for a bunch of other stuff, so it's just up there. There's a lot announced, so.
I definitely feel like maybe for our next one that we do here, we should probably do like maybe PC exclusives. Something that these console players can't get their hands on, at least yet.
That's a little more rare these days. A lot of games, which actually bugs me quite a bit when it comes to like at least shooters, are built around being console friendly. So it's just obnoxious. I find anyway, because it's like you'll nerf my controllers. Like when I was playing Prey, like there's toggle crouch. Like I can't just hold the crouch button. I have to like press it and press it again. Like shoot me in the face.
I prefer toggle than hold. I kind of prefer that.
All right. Well, I hate you too.
It's interesting to see, because even Paladins, a game that we all have played multiple times. Have you guys ever tried it on console before?
No.
Negative.
Okay, well, its aiming system is definitely a lot more geared towards PC players. It definitely has a really awkward aiming system compared to any other first-person shooter in its class.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to use this opportunity.
It's a little bit hard to elaborate on what I actually mean, but to kind of give you a feel for it is when you move the right analog stick in order to start turning your actual character, it starts off slow and then it accelerates almost.
Yeah, a lot of shooters in general do that because you want to be able to fine tune stuff.
Yeah, except for this one, it just has a really awkward feel. Multiple of my friends who are console players say that it even feels like an awkward first-person shooter, comparatively to Overwatch, which is another game that's compared in its class.
Gotcha. Let's use this to transition here real quick. Hefe, have you heard of Anthem at all?
Yes, absolutely. It's actually one of the probably the most watched games, in my opinion, out of this entire E3 conference. It definitely caught my eye.
I'm going to say it because it's got to be said. Anthem looks like Destiny should have been.
That's basically been my joke, is like third-person Destiny. Plus, you can actually like fly around like you're fucking Iron Man. I don't know. There's definitely the promise. I mean, it's made by BioWare. And to me, they're really hit or miss. They don't make everything.
No, it's made by the main team BioWare, not the off teams. The ones that always hit.
Right. It's made by BioWare. It's still hit or miss.
We're
Get
talking
out
about
of
the guys who did fucking what is it? I am completely blanking right now. Mass Effect 2. The best Mass Effect game.
Mass Effect 2 was alright.
Yeah, Anthem is being made by those guys.
On the upside, that'll it gives us all something we could adventure and play around together. Like, I don't know, I got really I'm just hoping there's content so if this is gonna try and hit that Destiny market, let's just hope they don't do what Destiny, at least the first one, did, where they're like, all right, here's $60 for 4 hours of gameplay, and then we're gonna release the rest of the game to you in like $20 expansions, so you basically pay $120 for a full game. I think
It doesn't seem like BioWare's thing.
yeah,
Honestly.
that's true, but
When BioWare releases an expansion pack, they release a fucking expansion pack. Their DLC has always been good.
I did notice a lot of things on E3, like, because I'm playing these trailers as we're discussing them. A lot of games are running on like pre-rendered footage most of the time. I'm actually kind of shocked.
Yeah, some of them are, and then some of our gameplay, like Anthem,
Yeah.
what we saw was actually a gameplay.
Well,
it was a
yeah.
scripted gameplay, but it was gameplay.
I feel like Anthem switches between the two. Like I'm seeing, like right now, what I'm looking at is definitely gameplay. I don't know. What's the game? Even the game I'm going to be bringing up when we discuss that. I noticed in the trailer that kind of cuts between the two.
Actually, that's kind of like BioWare's thing lately, because in all their more recent games, is their gameplay kind of synergizes with the cutscene, unless it's a major cutscene, and then it goes straight to that.
I could tell they're playing on the Xbox One X in this trailer because the frame rate is atrocious.
Shots fired.
One thing I do want to bring up that I was really disappointed about not seeing in any of the E3 was Borderlands 3.
And I've never been huge on Borderlands either, but that's mostly because the way Borderlands was designed had good ideas. It was just executed poorly. You're like, hey, I'm gonna pick up all these quests, but I can only go out, complete one quest, then I have to return and then go back out, and it was basically just really tedious going back and forth. And then when you loot stuff, it's like, instead of like let's say in Rage, because it's a comparable setting, when you open up a locker, you open up like the wall of lockers, you get all the loot. Whereas in Borderlands, you can spend 25 minutes fucking, all right, let me go in here and let me compare this gun to this gun and fucking.
Borderlands. I'm not surprised there's not Borderlands 2. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I can kind of see what you're saying, Joe, about the tediousness, but I mean, there's so many games that revolve around the same exact concept. Tell me how many times you played Fallout 3 and you didn't spend 25 minutes looting an area.
I also just got really tired of Fallout 3 because the way they just.
You should have said New Vegas, because that's the one he likes.
Yeah, New Vegas was handled better, I would say. They like kind of polished out a lot of the mundane shit that you do see in.
I agree. New Vegas was a better game, but I liked Fallout 3 story better.
Yeah. Except for when I first played, I like legitimately skipped halfway. Like I skipped like 5 chapters on accident because I left the original vault. I started wandering around, and the next thing I know, I'm doing the pint-sized slasher, and that jumps you to like chapter 8.
Fuck.
All right, I'm sorry. I feel like I pulled this away. Are we going to keep reviewing Anthem?
Yeah. Good job. What I do want to mention, I'm gonna talk about. So my concerns. I'm gonna talk about pros here that I like about it. Is the world looks very lush. Again, if we're gonna go with Destiny comparison, like Destiny is so bland, it's fucking just boring as shit.
Yes.
I do prefer the third-person action, considering the way that they're designing this. And
I got to bring up a point about that, actually, because a lot of people are looking at it, and it seems like when you're in the main hub, like when you're not in the Javelin power suits, which are the things that are actually in the gameplay, you're actually first person. But when you get into the suit, then you go to third.
yeah, and I wonder if you could
speculating there might be a shift.
Yeah, well, I wonder if you could toggle between the two. Actually,
Yeah, that's what people are talking about. It's like, is this? strictly third, or is this a toggleable?
Now, my only concerns, my only real concerns are is that, and not really to just kind of shit on consoles, which I'm always going to do anyway. Like, you can tell it's going to be very consoleized, and so I hope that doesn't bog down it on PC. And I just hope there's a lot of content to it. Like, it looks like the world is very vast and there's a lot going on, but
I'm
there
gonna be honest with you.
could be empty, you know.
I'm probably gonna get it for the PS4, not the PC, because I have more people to play on the PS4 than the PC.
Well,
It's okay, KK. We didn't want to play with you anyway.
yeah, you can. Now, here's the thing. What if it's, I don't know, like, more games need to be cross-platform, because they can do it.
Oh god, if it's cross-platform, we are golden.
The thing is okay, people are like, well, I don't want Destiny 2 cross-platform, right? But if you do the PvE elements of Destiny 2 cross-platform, would work. So if this is just PvE, that would work. There's not really a problem, like, because nobody's going to have an aim advantage of a mouse over your controller, right? Like, it's in the PvP that the problem would arise.
Another thing that they were talking about is they don't know if there's going to be PvP for Anthem.
Yeah.
I
Because
definitely
the
didn't
theme-
see any in the trailer.
Because the theme doesn't seem to match it. Because it's humanity against everything else. It's humanity trying to survive.
Yeah.
And we're not sure if PvP can fit into that theme.
And that's perfectly
But
fine.
here-
I'm fine with that. I have no complaints if it's just PvE. Like, sometimes a game just needs to focus on one mode and kill it. Like, that's what the Wolfenstein The New Order did. No PvP do it, fucking game kills it, you know?
I feel like there are very few games that can get away with having only PvE or without an entire matchmaking or PvP section. I definitely feel like there is a very slim, very select few games that can actually pull off something along those lines. Because I just feel like PvP is so relevant nowadays.
About that is, this game looks exactly like one of those type of games that could get away with it. It's a loot crawl.
I'm gonna see if I can pull up a YouTube chat. I didn't even think about that.
I can see it as that, but at the same time, it revolves around a shooter, I feel, and I challenge you to name very many shooters that don't have a PvP aspect. Like, when I think of Anthem, I do
Borderlands.
think of...
You asked, I give you.
You do
Borderlands has
deliver.
No PvP.
You do deliver. You're making me eat my own words. I mean, there definitely is a dual section, but as far as actual matchmaking, you are correct. There is no...
Yeah, PvP is not their primary focus.
Oh, hey, there's a pop-out chat. What up? Well, we did have one viewer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The next thing I actually... okay, so... what are your pros and cons then? I feel like this would actually be a good way to talk about, because we'd list our pros and cons, or at least just worries, not so much cons.
Go ahead, Hefe.
I guess if we are saying that there is going to be a PvP section within this game, then it's going to come down to how are you going to balance it, because the game seems like it revolves around gearing up, leveling up. So is everybody going to go in there with base stats, or is somebody going to be way outgunning you just because they've had more playtime?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the point of view, because I don't think there's going to be PvP, because that's not something BioWare is really good at and does very often. All their previous games have been horde mode or, just co-op stuff. They don't do player versus player. So I don't think there's going to be PvP in there, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think they're going to dance around the whole Destiny problem of balance by not actually doing PvP.
Yeah. And that's not bad. That's another issue I had with Destiny. I don't know, like a lot of shooters actually just... not all of them, but some of them have like a balancing issue where it's like, so like Quake Champions that just came out, fantastic, because it's not like, sure, if you put in the time, you're just going to be a better player because you're putting in the time, but it's not like, oh, you're level this, so you have these weapons that this other person can't get, and it's like in the Doom multiplayer, I remember some guy was running around with the fucking super shotgun and rocket launcher, and I was like, well, I can't do shit because I just loaded up for the first fucking time. So,
And another thing about PvP shooters is when they balance, it always ends up making one type of gameplay the gameplay for PvP. And if you're not doing that gameplay, you're going to get wrecked. Another thing with Destiny is shotguns. They could never balance shotguns. They were either too good or not good enough.
Yeah. Now, yeah, I got you. Shotgun. Yeah, shotgun's going to be really a hot mess. Jeff, what hyped you up?
Before we move on, I do still want to revisit the Anthem because I do want to ask you if there isn't going to be a PvP environment in this game, what kind of replay value do you guys think it has? How many rounds of Horde do you think it's going to take, or how many quest lines or dungeons or raids or whatever they're going to incorporate before you start to feel that you need to stray away because there's not a more competitive scene?
The loot climb, dude. It makes it infinite.
Yeah.
And with DLC of BioWare's quality, there is never going to be an end. I mean, look how long fucking Borderlands lasts. That I'm going to bring that point up because that's a direct comparison. A shooter without PvP, Borderlands. That loot climb makes everything worth it.
Yeah, and I understand that completely.
And
I definitely did. I definitely was one of those people who did sink, the money into the DLC because I wanted the more content, and I definitely did do that. So I can see it as being a successful game. It's just I don't feel like we've seen one of those in quite a long time.
Yeah, I guess the real problem here with Anthem, because it was just announced, there's just not a lot of info yet.
It's all speculation right now. But speculation is fun.
Right, exactly.
Because this whole, will there be PvP or not be PvP? If there is, what's the issues of balance? If there isn't, cool. How's the loot climb going to be?
Yeah. And I would imagine if they do add PvP for Anthem, it's going to be small, small and contained, like 4v4 matches. That, or they're going to... The only options they really have is they can't really try and focus on like a competitive market, like let's say Quake rolling out again.
I will say, make a statement that there is a solid single player experience here. Multiplayer was optional.
Exactly. So, considering that they're going to put all their eggs in making just a solid story game, I think is going to make it just replayable anyway. Especially when you have your friends around, because I mean. Even I've played the shittiest of games, and even just playing a shitty game with your friends and joking around, you're gonna have a blast.
Yeah, and there's another thing we didn't even talk about was the javelins themselves. The suits you wear, they have different types. So you could have theoretically several different types to change up your gameplay. Like, do you want to be the tank? Do you want to be this artillery guy? What do you want to be? Just change it on the fly, from what I can see.
Yeah. So what hyped you at E3 then, Jeff?
Well, the first thing that I really want to go over, and it's because it's the first game in quite a while in the series that has gotten me hype. It was the very first look at Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, this is supposed to be taking you back in the day to ancient Egypt, where the actual Assassin's Creed began. And it's basically going to revolve around gladiators, it seems, from the trailer. But it seems like Assassin's Creed is actually getting back to what made it great in the first place. Rather than trying to go further into history, it seems like it's going back in history now.
Yeah, well, what made the first game... I get what you're saying. Like, what made the first game interesting is, like, they're focusing more on the mechanics and not so much whatever gimmick they're introducing this time. Because ever since BC3, they had always introduced some like new gimmick, and the only one that I think ever even really worked was the pirate game, and they're making their own pirate game now.
Yeah, that spawned its own thing that was released this year.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Black Flag was definitely the last in the series that I actually truly sat down and enjoyed to the point to where I was willing to grind out everything. I was willing to get every attachment for my ship. I was willing to get everything at my base. I was willing to find all the bonus content, and that's what this game seems to me. Is it seems like it's going to go back to making me want to grind out all that extra material, all that hard work that the developers put in. It feels like it's actually something that I'm going to enjoy every step of the way.
I agree. It does look like it's going to be really good for an Assassin's Creed game, but I have to bring up the point of how much of this is going to feel like traditional Assassin's Creed.
I'm not too concerned because like they kind of need to not so much like move away from their traditionality, but like they have a niche, but they do need to evolve, and I think that's why they stepped away from it for a year, because when they did Syndicate, although Syndicate was okay, it just felt very like, okay, now we have now you're Batman because you got a grappling hook. Like I said, they're like, okay, here's a gimmick, right? They didn't focus so much on what like made the games fun. Now this looks like they're bringing back a massive world too, like Brotherhood, massive, you know.
Yeah, what they need to do with Origins is basically make Hitman, but in fucking Egypt time.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be about the assassinations, but they lost that.
What I'm curious of with Assassin's Creed Origins is what are they going to do with the combat system? Because a lot of people didn't like what's it called, the one in Unity. I actually personally like that because it was very skill based. Like
it was very buggy as fuck, though.
Once you got past, like once they got past the bugs, the combat itself was just very, like there was a massive learning curve. But once you learned how to play, you could be like level 1 and just Shrek everybody. Like it didn't fucking matter. And so I'm really hoping. Maybe they don't have to bring that combat system back, but they can't use the old one they've been using where you just stand there and then wait to press square or whatever the I can't do that. Like
the PvP needs to evolve. I agree.
In all honesty, this game could not have PvP. In Assassin's Creed games, I don't feel like it works properly. I feel like that's where most of the buggy issues came from when we're talking Assassin's Creed, is when they started to implement a PvP system.
I really enjoyed this Assassin's Creed PvP, to be honest.
That
was the only part of the new games that I really liked.
Yeah, and I don't actually think that the online was so much of a problem. It was a fun little distraction, like it felt like a different portion of the game, and that's because it was developed by a different team. That's why I'm actually really excited about this, is because they're taking it back, and they've clearly spent their time to rebuild Assassin's Creed, which is important because they make good games, but when they're cranking them out every year like Call of Duty, you're going to end up running into problems because you're just running out of creative ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like more what all of us are excited for is going to be the single player, the actual campaign storyline that we get to play through.
Agree.
I did see him sliding down a pyramid in the trailer I was playing. So.
And fighting crocodiles.
Yeah.
I saw him hook an arrow. Like, he decided that it was going to drop 5 feet downstairs and hit a person in the head. So I thought that was an interesting mechanic to put in for the executes.
So
I also like the. It looks like they're adding in item levels in this one.
It did seem like they were adding some kind of actual item progression rather than a cosmetic or an actual weapon choice. It did seem like your item level does matter in this game.
Now they've always
like
had
an RPG thing.
They've always had an item progression, but it's always been extremely linear.
Yeah, you just purchase everything.
You're done.
Yeah, you're like, I am Ezio. I'm gonna go around and buy everything. Yeah.
But once it looks like with the system they have now, once you reach the top level, then you get lateral progression. Like, okay, maybe I don't need distance so much as I need damage, things like that.
I don't
know. A bow that doesn't shoot 300 yards. I just need one that can get about 100 yards, but deals twice as much damage.
It definitely seems like they're trying to incorporate for everybody's play style. If you're the more aggressive frontline type, to where you want to go out there, counter everybody's moves, and just beat the dog shit out of your opponents, Or it seems like you can definitely play that sneaky assassin that the game kind of revolved around in the beginning.
Yeah, and that hawk allows you to do that. You can plan ahead. You jump into its vision, you fly over the bases, you mark everything. You're good.
Yeah. I haven't been I haven't been excited for an Assassin's Creed in a while, and this is definitely exciting.
I'm not going to say I'm excited, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
I've been burned too many times with Assassin's Creed.
I mean, kind of to break down pros and cons, or pros and my hesitations here is that pros, looks fantastic. Looks like it runs well, so it looks like they've ironed out all the bugs that they have with the Unity system in general, which is a fantastic engine. They clearly overshot their benchmark. They're taking it back to its roots. You have a large variety of things just from what they tease. But I'm kind of just cautious because seriously, like Assassin's Creed games have kind of just gone downhill. It's like,
Yeah, they have. My biggest worry is it's going to be more of the same. Despite how it looks, it also gives me that impression that it's going to be more of the same. And as long as it can avoid that, it could at least be an above average game as long as it's not a buggy piece of shit.
Absolutely, and that's definitely why I brought it up. Just flat out saying that this is the first title from the series in quite a while that I have actually had a general interest in. At least from, a pre-release standpoint.
Can we take a moment here and just kind of applaud Ubisoft for their conference this year? Because it's actually good.
Yeah, I definitely skimmed through it, but they definitely did have some good meat in there.
I really want to. This is kind of sidetracked. This isn't what I wanted to mention, but I do want to mention they did tease that Skull and Crossbones, which essentially just looks like they took the AC out of AC4 and made like an online multiplayer pirate game.
No, I can't wait.
Yes, that was one of the other games I was actually going to talk about.
All right, let's talk
Excellent.
about that
Let's
shit
just
next.
move on in.
Just because...
Slide them DMs.
Yes, exactly. It looks so amazing just from the get-go. The only thing that I did not see in the trailer that does make me hesitant is I didn't see an actual hand-to-hand combat system or when you boarded onto a ship.
Yeah, it seemed like it did an auto scene or something like that. That would be cool. They can. It is Ubisoft. They own everything, so they can just use the AC engine. So I wouldn't be surprised.
It's also pretty early in development, so we don't know a lot yet.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I did see in the trailer was I'm curious as to how the actual game itself plays. Is it based completely online? Is there a campaign mode? Or is it based around this kind of, I don't want to call it a MOBA setting, but more of a team deathmatch with loot?
I see what you mean. Based off what I could tell, because there's not much to work with. Yeah, they didn't really talk about any single player story, which
It does have solo.
yeah.
There is solo. I'm looking on their page now.
All right,
It's
fantastic.
solo or co-op.
So that's the thing. All right, and I'm sure that just means the story is also co-op, which is fantastic. So, it wouldn't completely need a story if they sold it. Like, let's say they released the game at like $20 and it's just the online mode. I honestly would be okay with that, just because, if it plays anything like AC4, maybe just more polished or better, then yeah, we've got a great game in general. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would more than willingly spend $20 on that.
Yeah, I just signed up for the beta phase because I completely forgot to do so.
Good thing we talked about it.
Yeah.
You gotta
I want
link
in
me.
that beta. I need to be in this beta.
Link me.
Just toss it into the Discord.
Yeah, pop it in Discord. I'll put it in a YouTube chat for the people that keep popping in and leaving. Thank you for tuning in for the Orange Joe podcast show with Jeff and KK. Ellen, me, anyway.
Linked.
So thank you. Do you have another game you wanted to talk about, or can I get to what I've been just like masturbating over, like literally, just nonstop?
I mean,
Go
if
ahead.
you are that passionate about it, sir, it sounds like you need to get it up.
So, Wolfenstein, the new Colossus. Oh,
I totally didn't know that was what you were going to mention.
Yeah, this is a little unexpected. I'm not even gonna lie, boys.
Whoa. Are you kidding me with that? Like, I'm a huge Wolfenstein fan. It's essentially what got me into like FPS gaming, like at least the Wolfenstein and the
Yeah, I
territory.
agree. It's been part of my childhood too.
And they announced this new one, and here's another like trailer that I really love. What, like, so you can tell they're using id Tech 6 like Doom, basically because like when they are rendering stuff in game, fucking looks beautiful. But it looks like they're bringing in some of that like over the top violence Doom had, because you're like seeing him like grab shotguns and blow people's fucking skulls open. So I'm playing that trailer now too, but like, oh my gosh, I am super excited about that. And one last bit before you guys continue on. Something I like about this year's E3 is a lot of games that they announced are coming out within a few months. Like, whereas usually you gotta wait like a year or two. So, like, all these games I'm hype about are gonna be here by October, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That being said, I'm gonna replay Wolfenstein: The New Order before this one comes out, so we'll crush that down. Always playing hard. Now, I guess if you guys don't really have too much to comment, I'll give you my. I mean, my pros are like, if they're continuing the story, like the writers they had last time are fantastic. I really love the alternate reality. Again, looks great. Last game Controlled, fantastic. And if they just learn from like how Doom plays, I'm sure it'll just be better. The only thing I'm like worried about is that I hope it doesn't feel like forced. Like, oh hey, our first game was a massive hit, you know, let's force this game out. And that's really my only like thing that I'm feeling cautious about.
Yeah, we don't know too much about it. It looks interesting. That's for damn sure. Especially that acid trip at the end of the trailer.
Well, I've been running these trailers. If you guys pop on YouTube, I guess I should link you guys.
I actually had somebody check your Twitch, and he says that you're offline, so I don't know if you're actually streaming there.
Oh,
right now.
I'm streaming directly to YouTube right now.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you before then.
Yeah, it's only on this YouTube. I'm looking at it now.
Okay, cool.
I fucked up typing podcast because I'm smart.
Attaboy, way to go. So, I have never played any of the Wolfenstein games, which we kind of talked about that before the actual podcast started.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I know I'm gonna get major shit for it. So
Yeah.
I guess for the plebs
Who
like
hasn't
me,
played Wolfenstein
hang
3D?
just listen,
At
hear
least
me
the
out.
original, yeah.
For the plebs like me who have not played, I mean, what are we expecting when we pick up this game?
Killing Nazis. Like,
Lots and lots of Nazis.
Yeah.
And robots.
it's
Sometimes robot Nazis.
like I said, I'll replay it if you just want like to be able to watch it. But to kind of give you a backstory of the original game is so like it's during World War II. You're doing a siege on like basically a Nazi general base, and your siege fails. You get knocked into a coma more or less for like 16 years. And when you come to, the Nazis have won the war, and the whole world's just under the Third Reich. And your guy, being the fucking red-blooded American he is, he's like, I ain't dealing with this Nazi shit. And you just basically run through Germany fucking shit up. It's so fantastic. How many games can boast that you drown a Nazi in their own piss? That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, that does sound pretty epic and almost worth just playing the game in order to do that.
It's a fantastic series. And there is very few that you could actually call bad.
Yeah. which was like the one not made by id back on like PS3 or some shit. Like,
I think that was the one that had the zombies in it.
I don't remember. It was made by like Ravensoft or something. I do like that they have this new suit. I don't know exactly what it does, but it looks like you could tackle down walls and shit now.
Oh, that'd be so good if it has like I think the suit is going to replace the laser thing as far as the upgradable utensil that you use throughout the series.
Yeah. Well, it looks like they've added new weapons based on, like, if you're watching right now, you'll see they're about to do a weapon rundown. But they also have the suit, which I think it looks. I wasn't expecting it, and he's basically going to come power armoring through Nazi Germany, and that's going to be fucking great. So that's where all my hype is right now.
Well, I think it's because, like, in the intro, it shows him, like, stumbling out of bed, unable to walk.
Yeah.
I think he gets the suit so he can walk.
Well, at the end of the
last, upgrade it throughout the game.
I mean, spoilers. At the end of the last game, you do kind of fight Death's Head in a giant robot mech, and you're like kind of left for dead. So.
It's gonna be interesting.
Another thing that these games do well is the characters. Like, and even in this trailer, they're showing a lot of the new characters, and
it's more of a new thing.
Yeah, well, all the characters. Yeah, it is a newer thing for like the at least the New Order in this one. The characters all feel very unique and individual, and that's something I like. Whereas sometimes a lot of people are just cookie cutter, but in this you got like this guy right here screaming at the fucking Nazi destroyer while bullets fly through his window, and he's just not giving a shit.
Did they actually set the release? Because this is just DLC, isn't it?
No, it's a full-on game. It releases the 27th of October.
That's exciting. I'm definitely gonna have to add that onto my wish list.
Something else I'm excited about is that you get to ride one of these bad boys. Is they're bringing in the robot mech dogs. They were in the last game. You generally fought them, but apparently you can ride one. And here you go. Here's the violent montage I was talking about.
Okay, here we go.
Fucking vaporize that guy.
Just
Jesus Christ.
Ruthless here.
Oh yeah, this game brought back dual wielding and power slides. You can power slide while dual wielding machine guns. It's fantastic. Or dual wielding shotguns.
That was definitely the first thing I noticed in the trailer was when he was dual wielding, just melting people left and right.
I'm also sure you noticed there's another. This is 2 games now where you're fighting crocodiles.
I mean, yeah. Why would you not fight a crocodile?
Alligator, bitch. You're in America.
Whoa. We do not get politically correct here.
Right in the ass. Ah, that hurt just to look at. So, yeah, I'm super hyped for that.
No, but seriously, he's in America, so it's alligators.
Yeah, they are in America, this one. Oh, shit.
Which is cool.
She's all pregnant and murdering the shit out of people.
I mean, yeah, isn't that a normal pregnant woman?
There we go. Dude just takes acid.
Anya's anything but fucking. Why? That one's Wyatt, right? I wonder if it depends. Because in the first game, you can choose to save one of the people, remember?
Yeah, and it creates like a split timeline. It's either hacking or fucking block picking.
Yeah, I mean, the story overall is generally the same, but I'm wondering if, like, that save carries over and that impacts, like, who's going to be alive there. Oh, hey, look, I'm already logged in. I should register for this. Sorry for the motorcycle.
And I guess if we are ready to transition, the last game that I personally wanted to bring up is Far Cry 5. And that's just because the story looks extremely compelling. I've never played the games for PvP, even though they have had it. but the actual storyline, the grinding, the leveling system, everything about Far Cry games, I generally do enjoy.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
the entire game could be summed up in one sentence: church scene, the movie.
Fucking from what the fuck's that movie?
Kingsman.
Yeah.
Kingsman
I
church
was
scene, the
just
game.
talking to my friend about that the other day. Not specifically correlating these two, but the actual church scene itself from Kingsman. But I completely see what you're saying.
And I cannot wait.
So there and here I'm gonna just go straight into pros, and my cautiousness here is that pros, it is Far Cry. This one looks again like they're trying to channel what really like made Far Cry 3 blow up. But the I don't know, Far Cry 4 was kind of like I felt like they just tried to
Tried
recreate
too hard.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, this is kind of boring. And I just used quadricopters to go and land on top of the towers and spy.
That said, it did throw in a couple of curveballs that were actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Like the secret ending where you just stayed there at the table. Things like that, those little touches, those are pretty cool.
And I feel like that's something that Ubisoft in general can deliver on if they sit down and they take the time when they are developing their games. And I feel like this particular Far Cry game, just from the look at the trailer and just generally hoping, I feel like it has that kind of ability, basically.
Yeah, when they stop trying to make an Ubisoft game and start trying to make a video game.
Exactly.
When they do that, they do well.
I guess a big problem I had with Far Cry 4, because it was essentially the same formula except for like a more boring map than Far Cry 3, and this is what makes Far Cry 5 at least seem kind of like they're definitely trying to go like a more familiar locale for, I guess, its players, right? But the characters, so Voss in Far Cry 3 was just great, like one of the best video game villains there is. Just
Yeah.
but they tried to like one up him with Pagan Min, and Pagan Min was just kind of boring. I'm sorry.
Yeah, comparatively to Voss, yes.
He was
Well,
interesting, but not.
Well, they
Well,
tried to
it
make
feel
him
unique.
like Voss. Yeah, they're like, we're gonna try and do Voss, but crank to 11. It's like Voss was
Exactly.
already 11. You're making him 22, and that's just
I think
too
what they
much.
were trying to do is correct what they did with Voss. Because in the first game, you were like, Voss is great. And then he dies halfway through the game, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so with Pagan Min, they actually made him last throughout the whole game. They were trying to make up for that, and they tried too hard.
Yeah. And the main hero, like, I mean, not to say that Brody, right, the fucking white boy as fuck from Far Cry 3 was super interesting, but like he did have, it's a bit different with like even the character you're playing is, I thought, was better still anyway, because he just like he shows up, he gets captured, he's like, oh shit, he's trying to escape with his brother dies, and then he's kind of just thrown into this environment, and you're like, fuck. Whereas in Far Cry 4, you're like flown in via helicopter, and they're like, well, you're trying to do this, and there you go. I don't know.
Tell you what, here's a question. Name the character, the main character from Far Cry 4.
Ajay, I know that much.
I didn't know that till you just told me, and I've seen the entire game from start to finish.
So I mean, just because of and that and Prime, like I didn't really play too much of Primal, but after 4, I was kind of let down, and I just like took
I
one
did
look
play
at
Primal. I can actually comment on this one. Primal had a very big problem of what the fuck do I do now? Because it had no thing to drive the whole story.
Yeah, there's no direction. You're just
That's
like,
not a game that I actually own, but it's a game that plenty of my friends had that I got plenty of time to sit down and play. And even just from, picking the controller up as I don't want to call it a new player, but a new player to that game, that's definitely the vibe that I got from it. Is just kind of general confusion throughout the entire thing.
well, I mean, you're a caveman, so your goals are kill animals, survive, and fuck your genetics.
I got to
into...
the point where I could ride a Sabertooth and wreck people with that, and then I traded the game.
But it just seems a little bit too awkward as compared to a normal survival game that you would have in that era. You have this Far Cry game with Far Cry mechanics, which don't really seem to match up nicely.
No, the game it suffered massively from a lack of direction.
I feel like from a general idea, it had a great idea, but I feel in actual execution, they did not deliver properly.
Remember what I said earlier about making a video game instead of a Ubisoft game?
Exactly.
That was where they fucked up. They tried to make an Ubisoft game instead of a video game.
But
Well-
just looking at this trailer, the theme, the ideas, it generally has me hype, and it has me really excited to see what they have in store for this Far Cry game.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like a big thing on E3, like even though a lot of people said they were underwhelmed, I feel like a big thing on E3 was like everything seems to be kind of going back to what made it fun for a lot of people, right? Far Cry 5 seems like Far Cry 3. Anthem's new, Wolfenstein's just doing what the New Order did. Assassin's Creed, though, Assassin's Creed seems to be going back to what made that popular. So, did this just start?
Yeah, it seems to be the year of returning to your roots.
Yeah, which isn't bad if they've polished things and introduced new features. It's not a problem.
I mean, even before this podcast started, you were talking about how you were actually talking about looking into a Call of Duty game. It definitely does seem like it is a year for games to be getting back to their roots.
The only Call of Duty game I played and enjoyed was literally the first one, and it's funny because I saw that and I was like, I actually kind of want to play that. It's like
Time
shit.
to return to the roots, back to World War II. Oh, let's go back to ancient times in Assassin's Creed. Let's try and recreate Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 5.
I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't miss seeing Call of Duty at all this year at E3.
I mean, I didn't really look it out.
It was there.
Trailers
it?
just everyone just shares the shit on Facebook, so you're like, oh yeah.
Oh, I completely missed it then, because I was just happy. I've been burned too many times by Call of Duty to feel the hype for any of their games ever again. It feels it's gonna take a very overwhelming product for me to ever get back onto the Call of Duty train.
I do gotta say, a lot of people were hesitant when the Switch was coming out. A lot of people were still on edge, and I don't know. I feel like Nintendo. And maybe this is just like the inner fanboy in me. I feel like Nintendo came out and just showed great game after great game. And
Agreed. Yeah, they had the second best conference. Of the
you're
year.
just I'm like, man, I'm glad I ended up getting a Switch. Like, I got really lucky. My friend got super mad because I got the one with the multicolored Joy-Cons. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I just kind of walked into Walmart and I was like, hey, do you have a Switch? And they're like, yeah. Do you want the colored one? We got one left. And I was like, sure. And then he gave it to me, and he's like, I'm so mad because it took him like up until just yesterday. He finally got the colored controllers, but I'm really glad because like at first I got it for Zelda, which
that's what everybody bought it for.
Top 3 games of all time potentially. Like
I got to give it to the Switch because honestly, when the Switch was first announced, I really thought it was going to go the way of the fucking Wii U because the marketing was garbage. But then now we've got a bunch of games that everybody's talking about. You've got Breath of the Wild. You've got fucking Mario Kart. And now you got ARMS. ARMS is blowing up.
Dude,
but at the same time, like exclusive games that normal gamers can't get their hands on regardless of their console, it always is kind of envious, and it always does kind of drive a certain buzz amongst the community.
Nintendo does know how to make first-party games, and that's Ubisoft showed another good the Mario and Rabbids thing, which is essentially like a turn-based. I was shocked. I didn't expect that announcement, and I'm not a huge fan of the Rabbids because they're like Ubisoft's minions. But I saw that and I was like, the way that this plays, the way it looks, like that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Mario Odyssey, all the flack it got initially, like you look at it now and everyone's like, that also looks like a lot of fun.
The Odyssey trailer was good.
I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. Like Mario 4 release trailer can put out a bad trailer, and I would probably still pick it up just because it's a Mario title game.
Yeah, because with Mario title games, you always know you're going to get a good game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like that's just generally like, and you're right. Nintendo's just dick at marketing in general. Like, because they have a bunch of old Japanese dudes that market all their games. So even when they come out with, I'd say 95% just fantastic first party games, like everything's just marketed like trash, and like even the Wii U I wouldn't say is a garbage console. It was just marketed like shit, and it wasn't really, nobody knew the difference between the Wii U and the Wii. You'd be surprised. And so
No, I had a coworker at work who was talking about it. He literally asked me if it was an expansion pack for the Wii.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking. Like everyone just thought like, wait, why am I paying $200 for an add-on to the Wii instead of like it was marketed poorly because they didn't. If they had actually marketed it as a different, like a noticeably different console, then yeah. But yeah, I really want to play this Mario. Throw around them sombreros.
It seemed interesting to where they added a multiplayer to where you could play as the Hat. You saw that, didn't you?
I'm watching the trailer right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, as far as the multiplayer aspect goes, I don't know if you can do a side-by-side or a split screen, but you can be Mario's Hat, which I want to say his name is Cappy, and basically you can just kind of swarm around or kind of swivel as like a
you can control
top
other objects.
Yeah.
It looks like the general idea is that like you control other objects, which is actually I mean, that's not bad. That kind of reminds me of Kirby Superstar for the Super Nintendo. Like you could absorb somebody and then drop them as an ally for your friend. I don't know. I'm actually really like at first I was like, man, is Zelda all I'm ever going to end up buying for the Switch? Like definitely driving a car with your hat? Okay. At first I was like, is this really all I'm going to end up playing? And I don't know, like as more time goes on and they show stuff, it's very obvious that like no, there's definitely going to be stuff to play.
I definitely feel like Nintendo in general is definitely a much more niche gaming. Like you do not pick up a Nintendo to go and play Call of Duty. You pick a Nintendo up to go and play Brawl, to go and play Nintendo-based products because they make their very select, amazing games, which make you go out and buy their product.
That said, their new little partnership with Ubisoft is probably going to bring in a whole new type of game.
And that would be interesting to see.
And actually, you might see like Call of Duty and stuff like that now on the Nintendo, which, as long as they don't try and gimmick it up like they did with the original Wii, that'll work great. But
yeah, we were so underpowered and had such a strong gimmick that it just made it incompatible with everybody else.
Yeah. Now the Switch isn't as powerful as like the PS4 or the Xbox One, but it's not like that far underneath.
Yeah, it's not so far behind that it's irrelevant.
Exactly.
Even regarding the individual machine itself, it also comes down to, I feel, servers and how well they are maintained. Because I feel like that was always an issue whenever I tried to play any kind of online-based thing regarding a Nintendo product, was that there was always a server issue as compared to if I ever played something on an Xbox or a PlayStation.
I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah, I do, mostly because they're making people pay for the internet now. I do gotta say, their payment model, like if you're only getting a month or so at a time, you're like, this is kind of expensive. But you could pay $20 and have their internet service for the entire year. So that's really good. Like if you're just gonna drop $20, like straight up.
Yeah, but you also have to think about quality as compared to price when it
Yeah.
comes to something along those lines.
So I mean that's still that's still to be seen. Like I didn't have a problem playing Smash Bros or Mario Kart online or Pokken Tournament, like all of these games.
There's a lot of people.
But maybe that's because maybe it's because my just general internet connection, right? So I'm hoping because they're gonna have people pay for this shit that their servers are gonna be better. Just a couple quick mentions. I will say that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 also looks fantastic. Announced Metroid Prime 4, which I'm just hyped for. And
I did see that.
Wouldn't actually give me a gameplay trailer.
yeah.
They're not good.
The expansion for Zelda Breath of the Wild is adding like a new portion of the map, which the map is already like one of the biggest maps there are. So
Yeah, I still haven't played Breath of the Wild yet.
you got to. I mean, don't get it on like. I mean, you can get it on Wii U and it still functions fine, but I would definitely recommend just waiting until you can play it on Switch.
I was gonna buy it for the Wii U, then Desiree just threw a huge fit. Said, "No, wait till we get a Switch."
Yeah. No, it's funny because I was I had speculated because I know they had mentioned that they're going to add like more quests and stuff, and I was talking to my friend. If you look on the map on Breath of the Wild, like once you uncover everything, there's this huge gap, like this huge canyon, and then like a landmass on the other side of the canyon, and I was like, I wonder if that's what they're going to add. Like this game's already fucking huge, like I can't imagine they would add more. And my friend's like, nah, they're gonna just add more like people and quests and stuff to. And when they announced it, they're like, oh yeah, no, the expansion, we're adding another region. You're like, what the fuck? Like, so
I don't know, man. That is actually a game that has eluded me this entire time. I have yet to really experience anything right now on a Nintendo product.
I mean, if there's something you want to dive into, I can tell you right now, like if you're like, even if you're not like a Zelda fan, like Breath of the Wild is kind of like a game changer. Like you're gonna see a lot of games influenced just based off of this in general.
Breath of the Wild is the original Zelda remade.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
kinda.
do still have-
Not directly, but it takes that exact premise and slaps it in your face with a modern twist to it.
I mean, I do still have my original Nintendo with, I want to say the second Zelda game. So, I mean, I definitely have played the series back in the older days, and then throughout time I've played them. But I guess hearing this kind of review about a Zelda game, because it feels like this particular Zelda game, as compared to the last couple titles, is definitely getting a lot more hype.
Yeah,
Zelda
it's,
1. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I can.
Zelda 1 was a monster release at its time. It was a completely open. It was probably the first open world game ever, with the way it was designed. But because of the limitations of the hardware, it was based on tiles. But the new one takes that premise, puts all the innovations that have been made in open world plus
Them-
their own twist,
Them titties.
and gives it to you.
So yeah, and that's exactly it. Like I like how they that's a big thing. I like how they took the training wheels off. Like a lot of games these days, you spent and here's an egregious example. I know this is like a decade old, but like Kingdom Hearts 2 has like a 3-hour fucking tutorial or whatever the fuck.
Kingdom Hearts 2, yeah, that fucking tutorial.
But Zelda, like, technically it does have a tutorial. And something I've always liked about Nintendo games, like, even the original Mario game, that first 10 seconds is a tutorial, technically. But it's designed so well that you can just kind of jump into the game, you know? And so that's something I liked about the new Zelda, is that you start off on this plateau and you technically can't leave. And so at first you're given direction, like, hey, go find these shrines, I'll give you a glider, and then you can do whatever the fuck you want. That's like literally what he says. And when you go to these shrines, you get a new ability, and each shrine makes you use the new ability to figure out how to solve it. And so you end up essentially you're given a tutorial, but you're not told like, oh, do this, do that, do this. It's more like hey, you want this from me? Come and you go and do this, and I'll give it to you. And at the same time, they slide in basically the information. They're like, oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, we will be wrapping soon.
I'd like to make another comparison to the original one. In the original Zelda, you went to a cave, you got a sword, and he said, "Go on,
Yeah,
your adventure."
figure it out.
And from there, you could literally go to any dungeon in the game, any one, even the end dungeon. You could beat the game if you knew where the end dungeon was. And the same thing is true for the new title. You could go straight to the end boss after you leave the tutorial. I mean, you're probably not going to be able to win unless you really know what you're doing, but you can do it.
I do gotta say, one more game I want to mention actually, since we're just kind of going in anyway. I'm a huge Dynasty Warriors fan for when I just want to shut my brain off and shit, and they're mixing that and Fire Emblem. So they basically now have like a Dynasty Warriors game with at least a roster of, like, if they just pull everybody they wanted to, of like 200 characters.
Yeah, holy shit.
It could really just go nuts. So that's something else I'm looking forward to.
I mean, as far as the actual gameplay goes, is it another typical Dynasty Warriors game, or is there a twist to it as well?
So something I got to give props to the Dynasty Warrior devs recently is that they've been each game they've been adding in features. Like they did a Zelda Hyrule Warriors, right? And in Hyrule Warriors,
I still have that from your brother. I need to finish it and return that to him.
It plays this like you hack and slash your way through stuff, but they do add in like you can Z target characters and they actually they've been adding in features so that it breaks up.
Yeah, they add a unique twist for each theme they add to the format.
And I feel like Dynasty Warriors has definitely been around long enough to know that they need to adapt to gamers in that sense, to where they can't keep just putting out a different game with a new model and different characters, that they actually do have to expand. And that's what I'm glad to hear when you said that.
Yeah, I think that's why we've seen more of the Dynasty Warriors format being put in other systems instead of a new Dynasty Warriors game.
Yeah,
because regular Dynasty Warriors is stale as fuck. But Dynasty Warriors with Zelda or One Piece or Fire Emblem, that is
or
different.
Gundam, which is one of my personal favorite, just because I'm a huge Gundam nerd on top of it.
Exactly. You're pulling in two fan bases.
So they have the Berserk Musou game, which
Yes.
you play through Berserk, and what's great is like when you get to the point where you get like the Berserker armor, you can actually like build up your rage and then transform into that form, and you just hop around the field and just shred asshole. Essentially, it's outrageous. You can play as Zod and transform into like his apostle form and fly around and fuck shit up. So they do know like how to target the fandom and add in features that would feel unique and important. It's not just like the same grind.
And I feel like when you're delivering on a game that's based around either a manga or a TV show or an anime or anything along those lines, something that is not directly a fresh game itself, I definitely feel like you need to hit high notes when you are trying to emphasize the gameplay revolving around that fandom.
And the devs are very good at that.
Yeah. All right.
So far, I've played 2 types of games from them that are the spin-offs, and every time they hit all the right points.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all right, guys. We've been going a bit here. We can work on the format a bit. Anybody that is watching this now or watches this later, I do appreciate it. This has been Orange Joe, KK, say goodbye.
Later.
And Jeff.
You can call me Hefe, though.
Hefe.
Later, everybody.
All right, so we're going to take a bathroom break, then we're going to pivot into playing some games. So if you guys want to watch that, go to my Twitch, Captain Orange Joe, CAPT, and we'll pick up from there. Have a good night.
Later.